Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. And I'm delighted to have Mr. Navneet Munot, MD, CEO of HDFC Asset Management Company, to grace MasterStroke platform today. Thank you so much, Navneet, to do this for us.
Really, my pleasure.
So nice. So guests are joining. So let me tell you about this group. This is a very elated group of 200 MFDs, a very selected group, very self-motivated group, out of which 100, 150 joined the event, and then the rest of them was the recordings. And we are doing these events for last 8 months exclusively for this group.
Very good.
And I thought I will have you here to have some good insights about markets, life, lessons, and others. So thank you so much. And so
honor and a pleasure to be with you. Always a pleasure to chat with you. So good to be with you.
Thank you so much. So first things first, Navneet, market 75,000 and MFDs are, मतलब investors को डर लगता है, लेकिन मुझे लगता है MFD को भी डर लग रहा है. So what is your message?
No, investors को डर नहीं लगता है. You have lots of newer investors in the market. Also that I think now, thanks to all the efforts made by MFDs and the whole ecosystem over the last several years, I think the realization that beyond a point, taking a view on the market is very futile and it doesn't lead to like wealth creation over a period of time. Last अगर 3 या 4 साल में आप देखोगे that anybody who tried to time the market has not done well. I know so many people, was it April 22, because of the geopolitical risk, the way inflation was going up globally, central banks are likely to increase interest rates and all that. More than a year back, I think they started increasing the cash levels or were not deploying the money. But most of the MFD, I mean, a lot of like so-called smart investors or maybe the smart wealth managers, but most of the MFDs that I have met and who didn't try to time the market, they've done extremely well. I think they are the ones who have participated fully in the market. So 75,000, I mean, it's again another peak, but as we know, unlike a mountain peak, once you have reached there, then I mean, you look at maybe another peak if it is there. Otherwise, you have to go to some another mountain. But in a economy and in a country like India, you know that every few years you'll have another peak to scale, right? Ultimately, stock price is nothing but the reflection or the slave of the earning power of the underlying company. And as long as economy is growing, as long as you have corporate sector which can convert that growth into the corporate profits, and you have capital market which can convert that profit into the return to the minority shareholder, and you have a mutual fund industry which can convert that return to the return to the unit holder or to the MF investor, I think we don't have to get too worried about these
so
market movements.
So when you say earnings and earnings are reflected in the prices, do you think, apart from any global events which is unforeseen black swan events, what are the risks in the market which concerns you?
It's interesting you talked about the word like black swan or gray swan. And there are 3 risks, right? There is known unknown, and unknown. You know what you know. I mean, you know what you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know. I think in last several years, this is the 3rd one which kind of the whole of humanity gets hit. And every year, forget about, let's say, going back in history with 2000 tech bust or 9/11 or global financial crisis or the euro crisis, I can go on. But even in last 4 years, in February of 2020, market was at an all-time high and volatility was very low. Nobody could imagine that in next few weeks we are going to hit with a completely black swan event. I mean, a biggest health crisis in a century, biggest economic crisis in a century, which will lead to a lot of other challenges. Next year, people thought that this year is going to be very good because I think COVID may be behind. There would be a vaccine. Things will start improving with all the pent-up demand, etc. And then the second wave turned out to be much more lethal than the first one. The next year, when again things were looking very good, and then we had the war in the heart of Europe. Last year we had like war in West Asia, so on and so forth. But in these 4 years, I mean, even if somebody had a crystal ball that all of these events are likely to happen, highly likely that that investor won't have invested. But fact is that Nifty was at 12,000 in February 20 before the crash. And now we are at like almost double of that. If you had a multi-cap portfolio, it has done even better because mid and small caps have done even better. The point was on the risk, like we can think of whether oil prices can go up, whether let's say inflation surprise on the upside, everybody expects rates to cool off from here. But if for any reason that doesn't happen, or a geopolitical risk, some of these, but I think taking a view on that is easier said than done. We don't know what we'll get hit with.
I agree with you. And
in
this
India,
is-
honestly, if you ask me, I mean, I've done recently an interview with a sell side analyst, and they published it for their global and domestic institutional investors. And we were discussing about the risk to the India story. And I said, of course, everybody will talk about the risk actually can come from outside. The world is a fragile place when we look at the geopolitical risk or many other challenges in the global economy. But the risk for India could be we get complacent at any stage over the next several years because we are doing so well. If the society in any part get complacent about it, I think that's one of the risks that we need to watch out for, be it policymakers or businesses or I mean, across all sections of the society. What we need to ensure is like keep our head low and keep working hard. We are at a very early stage of a very structural long-term growth runway ahead of us. So we are like where, you know, the way Japanese and Germans and all of that were working hard in 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s and grew from, let's say, a few $100s per capita to where they are today. We have a similar opportunity. So what we need to ensure is that we continue to work hard and don't get complacent at any stage. We should not do a sad goal.
Yeah, I think, you know, I was speaking to one of my NRI clients and I just asked him that, okay, I will send you why India. Can you refer me some friends, relatives? And he said, Brijesh, I don't need any presentation. Everybody here in our city or friend group knows why India. And in India, sometimes we are complacent and we think it's over, you know, how long the market will go. But NRIs are very bullish on India. They don't even want to know why India. They are already aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So apart from the equity, then, I mean...
But to, on a serious note, so when somebody asks me like, Bazaar kya lagta hai? So my framework is look at macro, look at the trajectory of corporate profits, look at valuations and look at liquidity stroke sentiments. And from a macro perspective, things are really looking good for India, be it the structural reforms that we have done, the kind of work that we are doing on infrastructure, the state of balance sheets, be it like corporate sector, financial sector, the government's balance sheet now that they are on the path of fiscal consolidation, overall growth, inflation dynamics, external sector, whichever way you look at it, I think the macro looks in reasonably good shape. Corporate profitability, I mean, it has improved. I think corporate profit as percentage of GDP touched a high of 7% in 2007-8. Post that, it has been on a decline. I think it touched a low of like less than 2% post-COVID in 21. It's back to 4.5%, but it still has a potential to grow. So if the nominal GDP keeps growing at this pace and potentially higher than where we are, and then corporate profits can grow at that rate. In fact, highly likely that we grow at a higher rate. Third, valuations, I think some of it is already in the price, but of course, over a period of time, a bigger part of the returns will come from the earnings growth rather than a valuation re-rating. And on the fourth, liquidity and sentiments, I think as you said that you ask anybody in the world and they are positive on India. You ask like, I mean, most of the domestic investors, everybody has been positive. The kind of flows that we have been getting as an industry, and if you include everything from the pension fund and everything, I think the sustained flow of liquidity has reduced volatility and will continue to keep volatility under check, because we used to be so susceptible to events outside India or the environment outside India, that I think vulnerability has come down. So out of these four, macro, corporate profits, and liquidity stroke sentiments, I think all three are like green or dark green. Valuations are where it is kind of like an amber. The return in the stock market come from three sources. Number one is the earnings growth. Number two is dividend yield, and number three is change in PE. Given where the valuations are, one should not expect higher returns from change in PE or further re-rating of the market, upward re-rating of the market. Dividend yield in India has never been very high. In a high-growing economy, corporates plow back those profits. So bulk of the returns over the next several years have to be driven by the earnings growth, and that's why the expectations have to get moderated compared to the returns that we have got in last 12, 18 months. But again, markets move like pendulum, right? So a 25p can always become a 30p, or a 15p when it's very cheap can always become a 12p. So it's never at an kind of like equilibrium in the short run, but in the long run, returns come from these sources. Yeah.
Correct. So what about debt market? And I will ask this question to you from the perspective of mutual fund distributors only. In India, mutual fund distributors, especially, who are less than 5 years, 7 years in the system, or if they have less than 100 crores of assets under management, are scared to sell debt funds. And this interest rate story that interest rates will come down, so long dated bonds mein invest karna chahiye. So many times they have burned their fingers. This time it looks nice, very well placed. Everywhere the call is that interest rates will go down. So what is the sweet spot? When should one enter into long dated?
Again, I think we just discussed about the equity, that timing it, that I will invest at the bottom, or I mean that's easier said than done. See, one thing I have a strong view over the last couple of years, that globally we have been in a period of 40 years of a secular decline in interest rates. Interest rates were very high in late 70s, early 80s. From there on, we had a secular decline in Western world. I think rates touched almost zero, or at one point in time, they were almost, I think at the peak, $17 trillion of bonds, which were trading at yields zero or in negative territory. That's behind us. This whole deglobalization is structurally inflationary. If you are moving from hyper-optimized supply chain to more reliable supply chain, which means it is inflationary. All these geopolitical concerns that have arisen in the last 2 or 3 years are structurally inflationary, then, because people will look for more reliable supply chain. We have all these disruptions in supply chain, what's happening in Red Sea, or let's say Suez Canal, and variety of things. Climate change is structurally inflationary, right? You have to change your entire infrastructure and variety of things. Demographic changes, I think globally, as population is aging, the large, force of deflationary force was China, because they had that demographic boom, and Eastern Europe, some of the countries in Latin America, etc. Now that they are aging, they won't be able to supply that. We will not be in a position to export the deflation that they have done. And of course, the impact of excessive money printing in last couple of years, both by the governments globally as well as by the central banks. So that will also have some, the implications on the inflation. Having said that, I think India is, again, just like we talked about the equity, relatively in a better situation. I think in India, credit to our policymakers, they behave very sensibly. During this entire period, the government didn't throw cash from the helicopters. We kept our balance sheet in reasonably in relatively better shape. RBI has behaved very sensibly, again, in terms of supporting the growth during COVID, and then raising rates when they had to. And so one is a demand calibration by tightening liquidity, by increasing interest rates to keep inflation under check. And on the other side, government has done very good job on supply augmentation. That kahin pe bhi, like whether it's agricultural goods or a variety of things, they work very, very hard to keep increasing the supply side so that inflation remains under check. And as per the monetary policy commitment, if you are able to keep inflation anchored at 4%, which is a commitment of RBI along with the government, then bond yields above 7% look good. There will be cycles, kabhi kuch for any reason inflation goes up and yields go up. That is an opportunity for investors to kind of lock in a little more, and that's where we are.
Okay, so friends, if you have any questions, please put that in the Q&A box. I already have a good question, and I will prepone this question to you. Navneet, a lot of NRIs have first question that why should I invest in India? Rupee devalue hota hai, tax lagta hai. So after what is your take on currency in the next 3 years, 5 years, kind of an average? Do you think at some point of time devaluation will be lower, or in the next 5, 10, 15 years we can come to a situation where we don't devalue? How to address this NRI question of rupee devaluation versus and investing in India?
But historically, say, I mean, one should look at, because the currency, if you look at history of Indian rupees, in fact, in 90s, I also used to be part of in one of my earlier uh, job. I think that the forex market very closely. And if you look at the long-term history of rupee, I think we'll have a bout of depreciation and then an extended period of stable to like marginally downward movement. And then you have like a big bout of depreciation over the years. But if you look at a longer time frame, so let's say the big bout of deflation, I mean, the depreciation rupee we saw around the Asian crisis, 97, 98, where rupee fell from 31 to 37, 38. And from there on, if we see now at 75 over a period of what, 25 years or so, this is like maybe 2-3% per
Yes,
annum.
3%.
But the 2-3% per annum, again, is like equity market. You don't get like linear every year, 3% depreciate ho gaya. You will have those periods where like, different kinds of movement. Going forward, I think, see, ultimately, currency should reflect the inflation differential. Historically, our inflation differential with the developed market was higher. Now, since we have also committed to a 4%, inflation, and in a band of 2 to 6. So logically, then our inflation differential has come down. So then our going forward, the depreciation should be lower than what we have seen in history. Our external balance sheet has improved. I think if you look at the overall current account or even the trajectory going forward with the way we are progressing on the services exports, the work that the government has done on import substitution, the work we are doing on more augmenting our exports, etc. Indians, every sixth person on planet Earth is an Indian, and will be the largest supplier of labor force to the world, largest supplier of talent to the world, which also means like a lot of remittances, right, in various forms. There's like some other implication, like the amount of money we spend on tourism or on, let's say, education, of sending our kids abroad, etc. But even net, if you see, you can project over the next several years a larger flows, incoming flows than on the BOP side or even on the current account side. So going forward, the rate of depreciation should be lower than what we have seen in history.
This question was from Madhav. Any comments on small cap and mid cap, Navneet?
Sorry?
What should be the strategy of investors?
One structural thing. A couple of years back, any question on large versus small and mid cap, my answer used to be that we are in a world with a lot of disruptions in global politics, disruption in technology, technological disruptions, consumer behavior disruptions, and so on and so forth. And we are entering a world where nimbleness and agility, I used to say this for several years, that we are entering a world where nimbleness and agility will trade at a premium to size and stability. I used to use exactly the same sentence. We are entering a world where nimbleness and agility will trade at a premium to size and stability. And we have seen that. But now we have, again, as I said, that markets move like a pendulum. And suddenly you have seen, thanks to the retail interest and the flows that have come, we have seen like some of the small and mid caps where the way valuations have kind of run far ahead of the fundamentals. You need to be cautious, but it's a large universe. So as a stock picker, there are always opportunities. But if I look at pure at the index level, definitely large caps are looking relatively better than mid cap, and mid caps are looking better than small cap, and small caps are looking better than micro caps, and micro caps looking better than SME stocks.
Interesting. So I'll come back to some personal life questions and time management question. I want to ask you, Navneet, you are doing this event with us. You are the MD of one of the largest AMCs in the country, you find time, and we MFDs are always lack of time. We are always firefighting. How do you manage time? How do you have time to manage everything and you can do it? What are the tips you want to give to these MFDs? How to manage time?
I don't know. I mean, it's interesting on a lighter note that the more time-saving devices we have got, the more time poor we have become. And there's this interesting book of Cal Newport on deep work, and he's written like I think a couple
Yes,
of
I've read
books
that.
on that subject. Yeah, like the deep work that how constant use of these gadgets and these devices impact our ability to think deeply or plan deeply. That's one thing. In fact, till some time back, I didn't even have WhatsApp. I'm still not on any of the social media. I mean, I just put one article in a year on LinkedIn. I'm not there. I don't watch any television. I mean, I glance through newspapers in morning, but otherwise, yeah, I don't watch any any movies or any television or no business, no channels at all. That probably gives some time. But there's this, I don't know, one of the consultant or whatever, they have this matrix of important and urgent.
Stephen Covey
Important
in
and
his
urgent,
matrix. Yeah.
yeah. Not important, not urgent is where our time should not go. Urgent, of course, you have to do, but something which is important and not urgent, that
Quadrant
kind
two.
of like, yeah, goes behind. So maybe the kind of learning sessions that you do with people, or upgrading yourself, or nurturing some of the key relationships, planning for the business, I think some of those are like very important, but they are not urgent, so they take a back seat. I mean, if you have something like that, that will always be like on your desk, will not always be on the top. On the top will always be things are like which are very, very urgent, but it's very important that the important doesn't get
Done.
neglected.
Yeah, I think this is very interesting, and audience should take note of it. I have personally benefited from this statement, what Navneet is mentioning. Do what is important and not urgent. And if you keep doing urgent things, you will never get time to do important things. And
Yeah,
it's called Quadrant 2. It was first popularized by Nixon, and then in the book called,
yeah.
Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey.
Mm.
And he says, go for the quadrant 2, where you can work at peace. And deep work, the book which you recommended, also talks about you should have 2-3 hours of very, very peaceful time where you do very
Yeah.
deep work without any interruption. So this is probably the mantra of Navneet also for time management. um,
It's also that, and just digressing, but it's an interrelated aspect that too much of information in our hand, or too much of like whatever reading, gives us an illusion of control, an illusion of like knowing more. But I keep repeating this. I think in last conversation I mentioned this, that data is not information, information is not knowledge, knowledge is not understanding, and understanding is not wisdom. The money is wealth is created by wisdom. And for nurturing long-term relationship, for building a good business, high quality business, building institution, all of this require more wisdom than information or data.
Interesting. And we have only 45 minutes, 1 hour. So I will try to extract as much as I can for myself as well as the MFDs. And last meeting when I had with you in your office, I asked you about your routine, and it was very, very intriguing and very, very interesting. Would you mind sharing in brief your routine from morning? And you said you will listen to bhajans and anecdotes on in the car and stuff like that, and your daily number of meetings. And when I met you at 12 noon, you said you already had 6 meetings in the morning. So how do you do this? What is your routine?
Uh, कुछ ऐसा standard routine नहीं होता है. So like today, I'm just coming from a meeting of a group of MFDs upstairs. Before that, we had a subsidiary. We had our board meeting of that. We had our another board NRC committee meeting. We had another team review in between an interview. I think it's always, and every day is different. There are few things which are kind of every Monday we have a call with our sales and product and marketing leadership. We have our own leadership meeting. There are few meetings which are like very structured, a monthly investment committee with equity team, fixed income team, PMS, AIF, asset allocation committee, or our executive risk, and then of course the board, trustee, the other things. Some of those are like maybe structured, but otherwise, yeah, each day would have something which is different.
So, is the message this, that as you grow in life, you need to stop doing things which you are doing to accomplish more and focus on bigger and more important things? Because whatever you said is very different from many people which they do. They are always firefighting. Here you are strategizing, looking to the future, doing bigger things. So is the mantra that you have to stop doing many things?
Yeah, maybe the things which can be kind of where other people are can deliver that better. Those are the ones who should be doing it, and our job is to harness that the power of other people, and kind of like inspiring them or motivating them to do better, because in most of the things there would be somebody in the organization who would do that better than me. I strongly believe that. So that should be the case. We should of course be accessible and available all the time. Sometimes I think attention to detail is an underrated skill set, but that doesn't mean that you have to get involved in everything. But wherever somebody needs you, you must be available. Just not like I've delegated, so don't come back to me. If it's needed, you should be accessible. But otherwise, yeah, a lot of things can be done by other people. And I think the point that you made earlier about important and urgent is very critical.
Navneet, all success.
The number of hours will get filled. I mean, time actually वो जो time management is थोड़ा oxymoron है. मतलब time is managing us. We are not managing time. Time तो अपना standard है.
Correct.
Same 24 hours है. Whatever we do, I mean, there'll be sunrise and there'll be sunset, and then again there'll be sunrise. So we cannot manage time. We can manage ourselves.
So Navneet, when I met you and when I meet all successful people, they talk about luck and they credit luck to their success. When I met you last time, you also said and quoted that instance of chartered accountancy, and you cleared it and your trajectory was changed from that day with some red. So is that all? Is luck all, or what is that makes a person successful? If I eliminate luck, because all successful talk about luck, what is a differentiator between a 1x and 10x differentiator between two individuals?
I think it was, if I remember correctly, I think it was Deepak Chopra once, several years back, 15, 20 years back. I heard him and he said something interesting that, I have met so many successful people across various spheres, the business leaders, political leaders, celebrities or other whatever celebrities, all kinds. And when I asked them that, what's the secret of your success? And they say something like this: I was at the right time at the right place. I was lucky. God was kind to me, something like this. And then he was saying that, so what does it mean? What is that luck? And I have been thinking about it. What is that luck? So luck is your preparedness to grab opportunity. I mean, 24/7, you are always like kind of prepared. You're working hard. You have a right intent, and you have a good heart. Then I think the opportunity will pass by. I mean, will not pass by. If it is there, you'll be able to grab that. So I think if in Silicon Valley they say that if you put enough engineering prowess with enough capital, any problem can be solved. If you put enough capital and enough engineering prowess, any human problem can be solved. They are like thinking of creating colonies on Mars and all kinds of things. That's how the AI and all of these things have come. But I think I flip it and I say that if you put enough passion with a deep sense of purpose, any problem can be solved. Anything can be achieved. What you need to put is like a deep passion for it and a deep sense of purpose behind it, and then things happen. Magic happens. Yeah.
That happens. Navneet, I want to ask you a very interesting question.
एक वो ओम शांति ओम है ना कि अगर आप कुछ बहुत शिद्दत से चाहते हो तो कायनात इकट्ठी हो जाती है उसको पूरा करने के लिए. But I'm always kind of, I mean, if you ask something for yourself, शायद कायनात हेल्प नहीं करेगी. लेकिन अगर दूसरों के लिए सोच रहे हैं, कुछ अच्छा सोच रहे हैं, तो whole कायनात will work for you.
Correct. Navneet, when an investor comes to us and he says, I want safety, we tell them that, you will get 6-7% kind of return. And so you should probably look into equity for long-term asset building and wealth creation, which is equity. Now, when you go from debt to equity over long term, you create wealth. I want to ask you from this background, what are the things an individual should do in his asset allocation of time management, things that he do? Uh, uh, um, for example, when I watched an interview of Elon Musk, and Joe Rogan asked him, "What is your routine like, and what do you do?" And he said, people think I am media friendly and I'm all over X and I'm all over everything. But most of my time goes into engineering and product designing.
Yeah.
What I do there, that is a problem which I'm solving. So if I were to ask you, where is the alpha of life? What changes we individuals should do in our life? Because we recommend client debt se equity mein dalo. So as an individual, what are the things, one, two, three things which you can suggest that we can grow 10x in our own life if we focus on a couple of areas, things which can create.
ये मेरा बहुत strong view है. May sound a little like metaphysical or whatever. That I think if the impact is at the center of everything that we do, then it's a force multiplier. I think we underestimate ourselves, and I'm like a Gandhi follower, and I mean, the guy just landed from South Africa in India at the age of like 48, 49, right? I mean, several of the people who are attending this might be of that age. And in the next several years, and he didn't, like I keep telling our guys that he didn't start it like, an assistant manager somewhere and then manager and then whatever, or opening one shop and then expanding that. Maybe I think had a deep sense of purpose, and then other things just kind of like fall in place. So even in whatever business that we are in, I think we are obsessed about others. Success in life is not about what you achieve in your life. True success in our life is what you help others achieve in their life. And that's a force multiplier. I mean, the universe conspire to make you successful after that. To me, I mean, that's the alpha in life.
Great. Now, imagine for a moment you are a mutual fund distributor.
And it could be anyone. It could be like just one employee that you have or one family member. It could be like many clients. It could be many, many people, yeah, over a period of time.
You are bullish on India, you are bullish on mutual fund, and your slogan is to reach out to every Indian and create wealth for every individual in India. And so there's huge opportunity. Now, if you were to switch your hat and become a mutual fund distributor having a 50 crore AUM today, what will be your goal, Navneet, in the next 10 years? What is the opportunity? If you are an individual, and I'm asking you this question because many people are watching you and will see this video, what should be their target if they're sitting at 50, 100 crores AUM in next 10 years? What can be the possibility?
Interesting that in last financial year, industry has grown by almost 14 lakh crores, which is more than the size of the industry 10 years back, 9 years back. In one single year, growth is more than what the total size of the industry was after several decades. And I don't think 10 years back, we would have projected that. The total equity AUM in 2014 was 2 lakh crores. Today, we manage double of that. We manage double of that. What was the total AUM of the entire industry? So I think all of us over the last several decades have been kind of like, the market has surprised us the industry has surprised us positively, and I don't see any reason over the next 10 years, given the low level of penetration. And now that, given the long-term track record, several of the funds have got 15, 20, 25, 30 years of track record. The way technology is helping us in terms of reaching out, in terms of doing the transactions, so on and so forth, or servicing a client. The way the whole campaign of mutual funds sahi hai, the effort that every AMC, every MFD, and the whole ecosystem is making to create more awareness about it, that how to make this more of a pull product than a pure push product, and the transparency levels. I mean, this product is phenomenal, and I think we are solving a problem. I mean, we are solving one of the biggest problem of the society of creating the retirement nest. I think the sheer growth of the country, and along with that, where people are yet to invest a large part of money to save for their retirement, the growth is like given. But we have to work hard again. I mean, it should not make us complacent. And कई बार बोलता रहता हूँ because MTM growth इतना अच्छा हो गया कि कई बार उतनी मेहनत नहीं करते जितनी हम कर सकते हैं.
Correct, correct.
वो नहीं होना चाहिए.
Navneet, you are one of the best speakers we have come across. And let me ask some of the MFDs, if you
I
agree.
don't know that. I mean, thanks.
If you agree, please, can you write agree in the chat box, audience, if you agree with my statement that Navneet is one of the best speakers that we have in the mutual fund industry today. स्टेज पे आते हैं बिना कोई प्रेजेंटेशन के, आधी घंटा बोलते हैं और सब मंत्रमुग्ध होकर के आपको सुनते हैं, गीता के पाठ से लेकर के रामायण महाभारत पता नहीं क्या क्या, आप इंस्टेंटली कनेक्ट करके बात करते हैं. मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है नवनीत आपसे, हाउ डू यू कनेक्ट these things with your day-to-day job? You don't prepare, and you do such fantastic presentation and talks. Your understanding of global markets, micro, macro, everything is so fantastic. How much do you read? What do you read? How do you generate such passion, knowledge, awareness? What is the mantra?
एक तो power of compounding होता है शायद. Maybe at the very early age my father inculcated that. I mean, a sense of curiosity and listening to whatever radio in those days and then reading. So actually इतना पढ़ना होता नहीं है अभी तो. In the current job you read newspapers also in morning, and of course I still like the physical newspapers, and if I like something then I keep a cutting, otherwise थोड़े से minute होते हैं to read that. But I think that the ability to make connections come over a period of time. Again, it may sound a little, I mean, one won't believe it. Like maybe if I'm able to like connect and then suddenly मेरे को stage पे खड़ा कर दिया और मैंने बोल दिया, तो मेरे को हमेशा ऐसा लगता है that it's a sense of responsibility. I'm not speaking to make myself look intelligent or make myself look like maybe some whatever industry expert, but it's for the people who are listening. Can I serve them in the next few minutes that have been given? And it's a huge time, right? If there are 500 people in the room or 300 people in the room into, let's say, 30 minutes, it's like 9,000 minutes have been given by universe to me. And it's a responsibility that I have to kind of whatever provide that value to them. And I don't know, the universe makes it happen. I'm very honest. I'm not joking. The universe makes it happen. I don't prepare it.
I have just a few questions more, and then if we have any Q&A, I will see to this. I make it a point to read your Person of the Year blog every time, and I'm fascinated, and I don't read it once. To understand what you are writing, I at least have to read it twice, because there's so much in that one single blog. And when you finally reveal the Person of the Year, you keep guessing who is it going to be, because you are already naming 10, 15 instances that this person did this or this activity happened. How do you find this Person of the Year subject? कब शुरू किया आपने, क्यों शुरू किया, पूरे साल आप किसकी स्टडी करते हैं, नोट बनाते हैं, या जब आप लिखने बैठते हैं उसी समय बस जो मन में आता है उसी समय आप लिख देते हैं? How do you do this?
So to be very honest, it takes a couple of days towards the end of the year. And I started, I think, 2003 or 4. I was a fund manager managing fixed income and the hybrid funds. And there was this 3-year period where my gilt fund delivered 20% per annum. And there was this long-term bond, 10.18% GOI 2026 bond, which were like just going up and up and up every month for 3-4 years. And I used to write this market roundup for our internal sales team every day. I used to love like writing, and then to keep interest, I mean, to ensure that people read it, I would write something very interesting every day. And then thought of writing, a yearly blog, what happened during the year. And then just like while writing, I thought about it, and I just thought that the GOI 2026 is my Person of the Year. Or in fact, embarrassing now that it was Man of the Year. And then I think 2010 I changed, and that year was the Rising Power of Women was my Person of the Year. And from there on, I changed it to Person of the Year. Every year it's like, now it's become a ritual, and actually now it's an external pressure. In my neuro last few years, every year I think, yaar, ab ho gaya, ab nahi karte is saal, because it takes a couple of days, honestly.
Yes.
And those are like towards the quarter end and all of that. But then from 15th, 17th onwards, some of the friends will start writing, haven't seen your article, when are you sending it? So बहुत pressure हो जाता है. फिर finally, because of that pressure, I end up.
No, keep writing. I enjoy it.
On a lighter note, I keep writing that. Yeah, but it's a good joy. I mean, looking back, 1 year and many things that have happened, and maybe because there's so much happening, and now that we have information overload, uh, we kind of like miss out some of the things from a deeper perspective. Yeah.
Interesting. And friends, if you have not read the blog of Navneet, Person of the Year, please ask your HDFC RM and managers across the country who will help you give his blogs. Fantastic. Navneet, you gave me a gift of book when I met you last time. Any recommendation to this group?
Which one?
Blitz.
I
You
don't
gave me the
remember which
book
one I
Bliss
can.
Scaling, and I read it. I read it.
Bliss Scaling, yeah.
Bliss Scaling. And while coming back to Calcutta from the airport, only I finished half of it, and then I read it completely. Brilliant. Any couple of books you will recommend MFDs to read?
Recently, one of my friend, MFD, Mr. Chabria, and we were together in Bangalore, and we were discussing about various things, and he said, I'll send you a book and you will like it. The book was The Last Lecture by Randy Pausch, and on the weekend,
Yes.
it was so good that I kind of like flipped through it and ended up reading it. It's really nice. Last Lecture by Randy Pausch.
I've read it, yes.
My all-time favorite is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. It was famous quote है Nassim Taleb का. Two things. One is that he keeps saying this: your rental library has to be bigger than your library. Meaning,
Yes.
like, keep buying books where you know that आपको कभी time नहीं मिलेगा पढ़ने का. अपना job ही ऐसा है. Then on top of that, you have certain reading to do, but still you should buy that book. If you think at some stage in your life you will read it, but still keep buying. So rental library has to be bigger than that. Second is उसका एक बहुत interesting quote है. I don't remember exactly, but something like that. The books that have been around for 1,000 years will still be around for 1,000 years. And the bestseller of last year or bestseller of, let's say, 2 years back, maybe out of circulation in a few years time. Because कई बार ऐसे कुछ fad होते हैं उस time पे आपको बहुत सारी how China got it right type आपको बहुत आएगी जब China की growth हो रही थी या different kinds of things. But वो सब change होती रहती है. The more, I think, if you go back and then the older ones, there's a lot of wisdom in that, whether it's Indian scriptures or Western philosophy or any of those. Otherwise, Man's Search for Meaning in Life, Viktor Frankl. Then I'm not talking about the markets and economy. I'm sure everybody knows there is so much of the stuff available now. And it's Fooled by Randomness, Nassim Taleb, which is very important because we talked about the luck. That's the original work. बाकी की सारी जो उसकी recent है, Black Swans and all, are basically that idea of fooled by randomness. Now, I mean, we just lost Kahneman this year. That's like a classic, thinking fast and thinking slow, and some of the other work that he did. In fact, his speech, his Nobel Prize acceptance speech. I mean, you can Google and listen to that. I mean, that self is like a book and a class.
I'm so glad, Navneet. And with humility, I will say every single name you have mentioned, every single book you have mentioned, I have read that. And I have read that twice, thrice. And I was really so upset, so sad when I heard Daniel Kahneman is no more, because the book Thinking Fast and Slow I have read twice. And Fooled by Randomness, Black Swan, has helped me cut my time into research and all those things, because it made me sure that long-term investing में उतनी ज़्यादा research की ज़रूरत नहीं होती. If you get it. And these books have helped me so much in life, I can't tell you. So thank you so much for reiterating all
the two giant, I mean, thinkers and thought leaders that we have lost in the last few months. One is the Munger and another is Kahneman. And even the Munger, I think he's really the I would say the thought leader or an original thinker, and incredibly good. I'm told that his almanac is getting again printed or published.
So I'll have a couple of questions, and then my last question.
Sure.
Someone is asking you your presence in Gift City. What is the significance, and how would the AMC or investors or MFDs benefit out of it?
Again, so we think, I mean, this will be our gateway to the world. I think lots of global investors who want to participate in India's growth story. Gift City has been evolving extremely well. I think government has been very committed to make this as the best offshore center in the onshore locality. So it's onshore from a physical perspective, but it's for every practical purpose is an offshore center. We've launched 6 feeder funds, and in next few days, I think we'll be live, and an investor can participate in our funds, particularly the diaspora or the other foreign citizens. If you have them as a client, the whole process is going to get a lot simpler than what it has been historically. And over a period of time, not immediately, but over a period of time, we will also see if we can bring some of the high quality global products where Indian investors would like to participate through that platform.
Karthik is asking with, and because there are questions, I'm reading this out to you if you want to have an opinion. With markets at all-time highs, what makes you come out with manufacturing fund and FO?
So again, manufacturing is a structural long-term theme. If we look at India over the next several years, the benefit from the China plus one, the benefit from whatever is happening on the geopolitical front in terms of, we discussed a lot about reliability of supply chain rather than the optimization. The government's commitment has never been as high as it is today to the manufacturing sector. Historically, I think for a variety of reasons, post the 1991 reforms, we didn't do something highly committed to really promote manufacturing in India. I think I'll just tell you one particular thing, that historically our belief has always been that how do we promote SMEs and MSMEs? We never thought that if you don't build the size and scale, even the SMEs and MSMEs won't benefit from that. There have to be a few large global champions, for few champions with global scale. And PLI is one. Just think of the mindset difference. Till few years back, before the PLI came, any policy would be like, it's for SMEs up to a certain size, MSMEs up to a certain size, micro. So you don't want to become bigger, because then there is a disincentive for you to become bigger. And our mindset has been, if your turnover is below this size, you don't have to get audited. Well, it's always been like, spread the money thin. This time PLI is incentivizing you to become bigger. What a big difference in our thought process. And also, I think whatever we are doing on indigenation, whether it's a defense, whether it's on the whole solar ecosystem, etc., and government is tariff barrier, non-tariff barrier, providing the support here, building the logistics, because if you don't have high quality logistics and a reliable and efficient power, then you won't be able to build manufacturing. The another thing that I think the labor supply over the next several years, we discussed about the demographic challenge to a lot of other countries who have become large manufacturing power. I think India will have an advantage. In manufacturing, unlike some of the other sector and thematic funds, is a much larger universe. You have MNCs who want to expand in India. You have a lot of traditional families in the manufacturing sector who have been large conglomerates. They all want to expand. You have a lot of now new age entrepreneurs funded by the PE, etc., and some of the EMS and automation and some of the other areas where you are seeing the newer set of entrepreneurs coming in. And then you have a lot of public sector units. So that way the universe is relatively larger and not a very narrow set of companies like some of the other sector and themes.
Sudipta is asking a career advice. How relevant even today is the curriculum of chartered accountancy course for a career in the AMC, where MBA seems to hog the light? I'm asking this question for a 21-year-old.
So I'm a CA. I think the rigor, at least, I mean, the rigor itself, the hard work that one has to put in doing the articleship and passing the exam, and it's like so competitive, that itself, I think, makes you good in life. You get better at numbers, and this is what, like, particularly from an investing perspective, really makes sense. I also did CFA, CAIE, FRM, etc., because constant, I mean, the degree is not end in itself. I think they just kinds of should make you more curious, should make you more hungry for further knowledge. So CA is a good course. I think one should do it if you have the inclination, and if you can, like, if you have an analytical, I would say, frame of mind.
That's all, Navneet, we have today. I just want to ask you any final message for mutual fund distributors.
It's the most beautiful profession, making money for someone else, making other people wealthy, and in the process you become wealthy. That's like a most beautiful profession. So that's one. Second is, I think in India we are all lucky that we are at the right time at the right place. So यही समय सही समय और हम लोग सही industry में सही जगह पर हैं एकदम. So that's the message. I think keep making money for other people, and the good will keep happening to us.
Thank you so much, Navneet, for spending an hour with us. We are truly delighted. Thank you so much, and I wish you
Entirely my pleasure.
and HDFC a long and big success over the years, and we stay committed to HDFC. HDFC remains one of the favorite funds for most of the
Thank you.
MFDs, and all the very best for everything that you do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Navneet.
Really
Bye-bye.
enjoyed it.